You have to realize there was like one producer. There was an executive producer and an associate producer. Every movie, every television show you ever see, it has anywhere between 12 and 16 producers. So it's all out the window. And the director now has very little to say about the casting. You know, the managers cast the film, the star cast the film, and a lot of the casting directors used to be able to cast a half a dozen of the actors and actresses. It's all gone. And the young kids coming along today, boy, not only there's no work, but there's no loyalty. It's gone.
By the way, if you...
Well, I want to say that it used to be that way in publishing. When I was working for one publisher, you know, and one time he said, you know, Jim, I think you're my best friend. And then a few weeks later he said, well, Jim, I can't use you anymore. Your books just aren't selling well enough. And when I was younger, people editing pulp magazines, they would use you. They knew you had rent to pay. Yeah. They would say, well, you know, I could use a 10,000-word story for the next issue, but that's all gone. I wanted to say my best friend for 20 years was Kirk Allen, who was Superman in the movies, did a lot of other things.
He also acted on the Whistler radio show about a dozen times.
Yeah. He told me that he got fired off of one radio show because there was a scene where he was being shot. You know, the bad guy says, all right, you've had your chance. You've had your last chance. Take this. And Kirk took it. And the director said, you don't take it. You don't make a sound. You just, you know, you theoretically fall down. The sound man does that. And so he never worked that show again. But I wanted to say about Sam Katzman. Now, Kirk is gone. He was a wonderful person in many ways. But he'd had some bad deals in Hollywood, and he was mildly anti-Semitic. But... the one Jewish person he loved was Sam Katzman, and I think the second one was my wife. I mean, he didn't love her in a physical way, but and when he would go anyplace, when he was 75 years old, we did a lot of conventions together, and he's 75 years old, and women from 16 to 60 something were, you know, after him.
Doesn't that still happen to you?
Not lately. But anyway, they would all, you know, and they didn't want to just get his autograph. You know,
beg your pardon?
they wanted a piece of him, and of course, at 75, you can't accommodate a dozen women a day, and so he would always. My wife was there with me, and he would pretend that she was his girlfriend, and he would grab her arm and say, "Dear, do we have anything planned for later, so we could have dinner with this nice lady?" And she would say, "Well, you know, Kirk, we are going to that party. I'm afraid we can't do it." And anyway, so I guess my point is that.
It's gone, man.
There's no loyalty. There's no loyalty left in Hollywood. Another great friend of mine was George D. Norman. It's not a familiar name, but he was a character actor. Mainly he was a stunt man, and he also became a producer and a director. And I met him, and you know, once I was young, and I met him when I was in my 20s, and he just decided I was his grandson, and we were great pals for many years. And there was one movie, I can't remember the title of it. There's a big fist fight between Clark Gable and Spencer Tracy. And at first they didn't want George because Spencer Tracy was supposed to be. Aren't we supposed to turn those off?
Yeah. Tommy always gets a call during the Sunday panels. It's a tradition.
Okay. George D. Norman was about the same size as the other stuntman, and Spencer Tracy's a little shorter than Clark Gable. So George, it was always inventive. He came up, he said, "Well, look, I'll do it in my socks. Who's going to look at my feet? You know, I'll wear black socks." And but then, for some reason, they didn't want to pay them what they wanted to do for this big fight. And okay, you don't want to pay us. So he got together with the other stuntman, and they had this fight, and they smashed the piano, they smashed the windows, they broke every piece on that set, they destroyed a $20,000 set, and of course, it didn't follow the script, so they had to shoot it over again. And this time, they did pay them their full rate.